Hello, friends. What if survival wasn't about fighting or running, but about outsmarting your enemies? Imagine a world where being clever means living another day. Animals that fake their own deaths, vanish into thin air, or throw predators off with tricks you wouldn't believe. These aren't brute force fighters, they're masterminds of deception, turning danger into an opportunity to fool even the fiercest hunters. Today, we're diving into the wild to meet the real tricksters of nature. Creatures that prove the sharpest weapon isn't teeth or claws, it's a brilliant, unexpected mind game. After hearing about these mind-bending survival tricks, let's dive deeper into the world of nature's greatest deceivers. Across oceans, forests, and deserts, there are creatures that win battles without ever lifting a claw. They bend reality, change colors, fake injuries, disguise themselves as something terrifying or completely harmless, and even spit chemicals to escape death. These aren't fairy tales. They are real strategies, tested and perfected by evolution over millions of years. In this video, you'll see how wit can defeat strength, and how survival in the wild often belongs not to the fastest or fiercest, but to the smartest player in the game. In the wild, not every creature can rely on speed, strength, or venom to stay alive. Many have evolved to fight a different kind of battle, a battle of wits. Over millions of years, nature has created animals that win by thinking fast and playing tricks even faster. Here we meet masters of deception, from octopuses that vanish before your eyes to birds that pretend to be injured just to save their young. Snakes collapse and smell like death to make predators turn away. Crabs dress up in seaweed to disappear into the ocean floor, and tiny beetles fire chemical bombs as their last line of defense. These aren't myths or lucky accidents. They are refined survival strategies, sharpened over countless generations. Each of these animals has turned intelligence, illusion, and trickery into a weapon, proving that sometimes, in the most dangerous moments, the mind truly is mightier than the claw or the fang. Picture this. You're a small, defenseless animal walking through the forest at night when suddenly a predator appears, stronger, faster, and ready to kill. You can't fight, you can't outrun it. So what's left? For the opossum, the answer is one of the wild's boldest, strangest, and most effective tricks, faking its own death so perfectly that even the most determined predator gives up. At first, the opossum doesn't go straight to its final act. It tries to look fierce, baring its teeth, hissing loudly, growling, puffing up its body to seem bigger than it is. Sometimes this bluff works. Predators hesitate, confused by the sudden aggression. But when intimidation fails and danger is seconds away, the opossum launches into one of nature's greatest survival performances. In a flash, its body collapses to the ground, as if life has drained out of it. Its mouth gapes open, tongue hanging out, eyes glazed over or rolled back. It emits a low, eerie groan that sounds like the last breath of a dying creature. And then comes its secret weapon, a pungent, sickly smell from its anal glands that mimics the stench of decay. To a predator, this combination screams dead and diseased, something no hunter wants to touch. Coyotes, foxes, bobcats, even domestic dogs have been seen sniffing the limp body of an opossum, grimacing and walking away, convinced they've stumbled upon carrion instead of live prey. The opossum doesn't break character no matter what happens. Scientists have documented cases where opossums stayed in this trance-like state for minutes or even hours. Heart rate slowed, muscles completely limp, sometimes even bleeding from a real injury, but continuing the act until they sensed absolute safety. The trick is so convincing that even humans have been fooled, thinking they found a dead opossum only for it to rise from the grave later and run off unharmed. This behavior, called thanatosis, is believed to be partly instinctive and partly a complex survival reflex triggered by extreme fear. It is incredibly risky. If a predator decides to eat the carcass anyway, the opossum has no defense left. But in most cases, this bluff is a lifesaver, sparing the animal from certain death. What makes this strategy brilliant is that it doesn't rely on claws, speed, venom, or strength. It rewrites of the hunt. Predators expect a chase, a fight, a desperate escape. They don't expect their prey to simply die on the spot, emitting a disgusting odor that says, "I'm already rotten, leave me alone." This shock tactic confuses the natural order of predator and prey, turning the opossum from a target into unwanted trash in seconds. And when the danger finally passes, the little actor wakes from its death pose, shakes itself off, and scurries back to safety, having fooled death itself. Watching this performance in the wild is both eerie and brilliant. A reminder that survival isn't just about being stronger or faster. Sometimes it belongs to the clever, the deceptive, the ones who know how to trick their enemies so well that even nature's fiercest hunters walk away empty-mouthed. Imagine living in a world where your home is nothing more than a shallow scrape in the ground. Your chicks have no protection, and every fox, snake, dog, or bird of prey sees your nest as an easy snack. Now imagine you have no claws to fight back, no sharp beak to strike, no venom, no speed to escape with your young, only your mind and your courage. This is the daily life of the killdeer, a small ground-nesting bird whose entire survival strategy depends on trickery and sacrifice. When a predator approaches its nest, the killdeer doesn't flee and abandon its eggs, nor does it attack. Instead, it launches one of nature's most daring performances, the broken wing act. The bird suddenly stumbles away from its nest, dragging one wing on the ground, feathers spread awkwardly, crying out in distress. To a predator, it's a dream come true. An injured, helpless bird that can't fly, promising an effortless meal. Instinctively, the attacker switches focus, leaving the nest behind to chase what looks like easy prey. The killdeer continues its act, hopping, fluttering, sometimes collapsing in the dirt as if it's on the verge of death, always moving just slowly enough to keep the predator's attention, but never too slow to be caught. Step by step, it lures the danger farther and farther from its vulnerable chicks. Then, when the nest is safely out of reach, the injured bird suddenly snaps out of its fake agony, takes to the sky with perfect wings, and vanishes, leaving the confused predator behind, fooled completely. Scientists have observed killdeer repeating this dangerous trick multiple times a day if threats keep coming. Each act is a calculated risk. One mistake, 1 second too slow, and the bird could become real prey. Yet generation after generation, this bold strategy works, allowing countless chicks to hatch and survive, despite living in one of the most exposed nesting environments in the bird world. The intelligence behind this act is remarkable. The killdeer knows exactly how far to lead a predator before escaping, reading its speed and reactions, adjusting its movements like a skilled actor on stage. Some birds even fake injuries in multiple directions to confuse several attackers at once, creating a perfect diversion for their family to stay safe. This isn't instinct alone. It's tactical thinking, courage, and a willingness to put themselves in harm's way over and over again. The killdeer reminds us that true heroism in nature doesn't always roar or fight. Sometimes it limps, cries out, and pretends to be weak, turning cleverness into the ultimate shield against danger. What would you do if your only way to survive was to turn yourself into something too big and too scary to swallow? For the pufferfish, this bizarre but brilliant strategy is its ticket to life in oceans full of predators. Normally, a pufferfish is a small, harmless-looking creature drifting close to coral reefs. But the moment danger approaches, it transforms. Its body has evolved an extraordinary defense mechanism. It gulps massive amounts of water or air, expanding to several times its normal size in just seconds. Suddenly, what looked like an easy meal becomes a spiky, unmanageable balloon. Many predators, startled or unable to bite down, give up immediately, and the pufferfish swims away alive. Some species take this defense further with sharp spines that pop out as the fish inflates, turning their soft, harmless-looking bodies into floating armored balls that can injure a predator's mouth. But size isn't their only trick. Pufferfish also carry one of the most potent natural toxins on Earth, tetrodotoxin, in their skin and organs. Even if a predator manages to grab them, it risks a deadly dose of poison that can paralyze or kill within minutes. This makes most attackers learn fast to never try a pufferfish twice. What makes this strategy so remarkable is how well-timed and controlled it is. Pufferfish don't stay inflated long. It's exhausting and risky for their bodies. But they do it with perfect timing, waiting until the last possible second when a predator lunges. Researchers observing wild pufferfish have seen them outsmarting larger hunters, hiding briefly, and then inflating in narrow spaces where they wedge themselves like a living barricade impossible to pull out. This combination of deception, size manipulation, and chemical warfare makes the pufferfish one of the most cunning survivors in the ocean. It doesn't fight back with teeth or speed, but with shock, surprise, and a body that says, "Try me and regret it forever." In a world where being small usually means being prey, the pufferfish has flipped the rules of survival, proving that sometimes the smartest escape is to become a nightmare. No predator wants to bite twice. Imagine standing in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by predators, yet remaining so perfectly disguised that the enemy walks past without even realizing you exist. That's the genius of the stick insect, one of nature's finest masters of camouflage, a creature that survives by turning itself into something predators don't even notice. A twig, a branch, or a lifeless piece of plant. These insects are living illusions. Their entire bodies are shaped like sticks or leaves, complete with ridges, knots, and even markings that mimic bark imperfections or leaf veins. But their trick doesn't stop at looks alone. Stick insects know how to act the part. When the wind blows, they sway gently back and forth on their thin legs, perfectly imitating the motion of leaves or branches. To a hungry bird or lizard, they're nothing more than part of the scenery, invisible in plain sight. Some species go even further, changing color slightly over time to match the exact shade of the plants they live on. Scientists have observed stick insects freezing for hours without a twitch when danger approaches. knowing that even the smallest movement could give them away. If a predator gets too close, some species have evolved backup tactics. Certain stick insects will drop to the ground, staying completely still, pretending to be a fallen twig until danger has passed. Others shed a limb to escape a predator's grasp, later regenerating the lost leg as if nothing happened. Some even release foul-smelling chemicals to make themselves unappetizing in case they are discovered. Their mimicry is so advanced that even expert researchers sometimes struggle to spot them in the wild. Predators searching through branches often pass right over these insects, never realizing that a potential meal was right in front of their eyes. This strategy has kept stick insects alive for over 100 million years, allowing them to survive in forests full of birds, reptiles, and mammals that would otherwise devour them in seconds. Their entire existence is a game of patience and deception, showing that survival in nature doesn't always go to the strongest or fastest, but to those who can disappear completely. Watching a stick insect vanish into its environment is like seeing nature's version of magic. No special effects, no tricks, just a creature so perfectly adapted that it wins the fight for life simply by being impossible to find. Have you ever thought a tiny, fragile frog could outsmart predators not by running or fighting, but by playing one of the most convincing tricks in nature? Many frog species have mastered deception as their #1 survival tool, using false signals, fake movements, and incredible disguises to turn hunters into the hunted or simply confuse them long enough to escape. One of the most remarkable examples is the red-eyed tree frog and other tropical species that perform a perfect act of distraction when danger closes in. Instead of fleeing immediately, which would expose them, these frogs stay perfectly still, blending with leaves using their green coloration, becoming invisible in plain sight. But when a snake, bird, or larger lizard gets too close, the frog suddenly opens its eyes wide, flashing bright red or yellow colors on its limbs, startling the predator for a crucial second. That single moment of confusion is all it needs to leap to safety. Other frogs use an even more cunning approach. Some play dead, flipping onto their backs, remaining motionless, letting predators believe they are already rotting or toxic. Many amphibians release unpleasant-smelling secretions when threatened, selling the act with perfect realism. Predators that rely on movement and smell lose interest, thinking the prey is unfit to eat. Some frogs combine trickery with mimicry, flattening their bodies or inflating themselves to look larger and more dangerous, while others imitate leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, making hunters look right past them without realizing their meal is inches away. There are species like the false-eyed frog that have large spots on their hind legs, resembling the eyes of a much bigger animal. When they feel threatened, they lift their legs, showing these fake eyes to terrify or confuse attackers, making them think they're facing a dangerous predator instead of a small amphibian. Scientists have observed frogs using these tactics repeatedly, switching between staying invisible, pretending to be dead, or performing sudden, shocking displays depending on which enemy approaches. It's not brute force or fast legs that keep these fragile creatures alive in forests full of hunters. It's pure strategy, a performance honed by evolution to trick even the smartest predator. In a world where a split-second decision decides who eats and who escapes, frogs prove that cleverness, illusion, and a perfectly timed lie can be more powerful than claws or teeth. Their tricks may look simple to us, but they are a masterpiece of survival theater, played out night after night on the rainforest stage, where every jump could be the last if not for the power of deception. Have you ever thought that the best way to survive isn't to fight, flee, or hide, but to become so invisible that predators never realize you're alive at all? That's the secret of the mata mata turtle, a creature that looks less like an animal and more like a piece of the swamp itself. Found in the slow-moving rivers and marshes of South America, this turtle has turned camouflage into a full-body masterpiece, making it one of the most deceptive reptiles in the world. At first glance, a mata mata turtle doesn't resemble a turtle at all. Its flat, triangular head is covered in flaps of rough, knobby skin. Its long neck looks like a twisted branch, and its brown, jagged shell is shaped like a rotting leaf floating on water. Algae often grows on its back, blending it even further into the murky environment. To any predator swimming by, it's just another piece of debris, not worth a second glance. But this disguise isn't just for hiding, it's also a deadly hunting strategy. Mata matas are ambush predators that use patience as their greatest weapon. They stay perfectly still for hours, waiting for unsuspecting fish or amphibians to come close, believing the leaf nearby is harmless. In a split second, the turtle stretches its long neck, opens its wide, vacuum-like mouth, and sucks in its prey with incredible force, swallowing it whole before the victim realizes what happened. Scientists have studied mata matas and discovered that their entire body design is specialized for this trickery. Their flat heads reduce water disturbance when they strike, and their camouflage is so effective that even experienced divers have mistaken them for dead vegetation. Predators often swim past without noticing them, and prey have no chance of escape until it's too late. This dual use of deception, fooling both enemies and victims, makes the mata mata turtle a true master of survival without speed, strength, or armor. In nature, where countless creatures rely on brute force or quick reflexes, this turtle has chosen a different path. It becomes part of the environment itself, untouchable and overlooked, turning invisibility into its ultimate defense. Watching a mata mata turtle in its natural habitat is like looking at a swamp floor come to life, a living ghost of the water, proving that in the wild, sometimes the smartest way to survive is to make the world forget you're even there. Imagine having the power to vanish right before your enemy's eyes, not by running or hiding, but by rewriting how you look in an instant. That's the incredible survival skill of the cuttlefish, one of the ocean's most gifted illusionists. These creatures live in waters full of predators, sharks, large fish, even other cuttlefish. Yet they thrive not by fighting or fleeing, but by tricking attackers at a level that feels almost supernatural. Their skin is covered with millions of specialized pigment cells called chromatophores, iridophores, and papillae, allowing them to change color, reflect light, and even alter the texture of their skin in milliseconds. One moment they look like a patch of sand, the next like a bed of seaweed or a jagged rock, making them vanish into their surroundings so completely that predators swim right past without noticing. But camouflage is only the start of their genius. Cuttlefish can send rapid pulses of color across their bodies to confuse attackers, creating flickering patterns that disrupt a predator's ability to focus, buying precious seconds to escape. Some scientists believe these moving patterns act almost like hypnotic waves, overwhelming the vision of predators and causing hesitation just long enough for the cuttlefish to dart away. These animals also use mimicry to avoid becoming a meal. They can imitate dangerous or unpalatable creatures, adopting the shape and colors of venomous fish or toxic sea slugs, sending a clear message to hunters: "I'm not safe to eat." Unlike most prey animals that simply react to threats, cuttlefish seem to assess their attackers, adjusting their disguise or patterns depending on who's hunting them and what environment they're in. This quick decision-making shows remarkable intelligence, giving them one of the most advanced survival toolkits in the ocean. Scientists studying cuttlefish in labs have seen them plan their moves, using objects for cover and choosing specific patterns to outwit predators or sneak up on their own prey. Watching a cuttlefish escape danger feels like witnessing magic. One second it's there, a soft-bodied target in plain sight. The next, it has melted into the ocean floor, leaving attackers confused and searching. In a world where brute force usually decides life or death, cuttlefish prove that the sharpest survival strategy isn't teeth or speed. It's the ability to make your enemies doubt what they see, hesitate for just a moment, and lose their chance to strike. Evolution has made the cuttlefish a true master of deception, turning invisibility and illusion into a way of life that keeps them alive in a world full of danger. What would you do if every predator that tried to eat you regretted it instantly? The bombardier beetle has mastered one of the most shocking and clever survival tricks in the insect world, turning its own body into a living chemical weapon that sends attackers running in pain and confusion. This small, unassuming beetle doesn't look dangerous, but hidden inside its abdomen are two chemical chambers filled with harmless liquids. When threatened by frogs, spiders, lizards, or even curious mammals, the beetle mixes these chemicals in a special reaction chamber, creating an explosive, boiling spray of toxic, foul-smelling gas. With perfect aim, it blasts this hot, corrosive liquid directly at its enemy, causing instant burning sensations and driving predators away before they can take another bite. The spray is powerful enough to deter animals much larger than the beetle itself and can even kill small attackers outright. Scientists have studied this incredible defense and found that the beetle's system functions like a miniature chemical cannon, complete with a safety valve, mixing chamber, and directional nozzle. It can fire multiple bursts in rapid succession, aiming with astonishing precision, hitting enemies directly in the eyes or mouth to make sure they never try again. What makes this strategy so brilliant is how it changes the rules of survival for such a tiny creature. Most insects rely on hiding or running when danger comes, but the bombardier beetle fights with deception and shock, making predators believe they've bitten into something toxic and deadly. Many predators learn after just one encounter to avoid these beetles entirely, remembering the awful experience and giving the species a reputation that protects even those that never had to fire a shot. In nature, where being small usually means being eaten, this beetle has flipped the balance of power by using chemistry as a weapon of fear. It doesn't have claws, venom fangs, or wings to escape danger fast, but it has a mind-bending trick that keeps it alive, turning its own body into a bomb that says to the entire food chain, "Try me once, and you'll never forget it." Have you ever imagined escaping death not by running or fighting, but by tricking your enemy into believing you're something far more dangerous than you really are? Many butterflies have mastered this art of deception, turning their delicate, colorful wings into shields of illusion that keep predators away. To a bird or lizard, a butterfly might seem like an easy meal, fragile and defenseless, but what they see isn't always what they think. Certain butterfly species have large eye-like patterns on their wings, known as false eyes, that make them look like much bigger, more threatening creatures. When danger approaches, the butterfly suddenly flashes these giant eye spots by spreading its wings wide, creating the terrifying illusion that the predator is staring into the gaze of an owl, a snake, or another powerful hunter. In an instant, the attacker hesitates, startled and confused, giving the butterfly the perfect chance to escape unharmed. But the tricks don't stop there. Some butterflies take camouflage to the next level, folding their wings to resemble dried leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, becoming practically invisible when they rest. Predators scanning for food see nothing but debris or waste, never realizing a living meal is right in front of them. Other species mimic the colors and patterns of poisonous butterflies, despite being harmless themselves. Birds that have tasted or witnessed the real toxic version learn to avoid that pattern for life, sparing the mimic species without them ever having to fight or flee. Scientists call this Batesian mimicry, an evolutionary masterpiece where survival is built on reputation and trickery rather than strength. In tropical rainforests, butterfly deception becomes a full show. Some species flip their wings to alternate between camouflage and warning patterns in a split second, dazzling predators and creating a confusing visual storm that makes it almost impossible to follow their movements. Every false eye, every fake wing pattern, every leaf-like disguise is part of a long evolutionary game of outsmarting hunters, turning vulnerability into an advantage. These insects survive not because they're fast or strong, but because they've learned how to control what predators believe, rewriting the story of life and death with a simple, perfect lie painted on their wings. Watching a butterfly escape danger this way is like seeing nature's own sleight of hand, a silent, breathtaking trick that leaves even the fiercest hunters second-guessing what's real and what's an illusion. What would you do if your only hope of survival was to convince a predator that you were already dead, poisonous, and not worth eating? The hognose snake has turned this bizarre idea into an art form, performing one of nature's most convincing death scenes whenever danger gets too close. At first, this snake tries to avoid a fight by flattening its neck like a miniature cobra, hissing loudly and striking without biting. A bluff meant to scare predators into leaving. But if that act doesn't work, it takes things to a whole new level. The hognose snake suddenly flips onto its back, its mouth opens wide, tongue lolls out, its body goes limp, and to complete the illusion, it releases a foul, rotten smell from its glands, making predators believe it's not just dead, but decaying and unsafe to eat. Even the most determined hunters, from birds to mammals, usually recoil and walk away, convinced the snake is already a toxic, spoiled meal. Scientists have observed hognose snakes repeating this act over and over if a predator tries to check whether it's real, sometimes twisting into unnatural positions, belly up, jaw gaping, like a professional actor refusing to break character. What's fascinating is that this isn't blind instinct. The snake seems to judge the situation carefully, choosing bluff strikes first, then faking death only as a last resort, saving its most dramatic trick for when nothing else works. And when the danger is gone, the performance ends instantly. The snake flips over, closes its mouth, and slithers away as if nothing happened, ready to live another day. This act has fooled countless predators for millions of years, proving that survival isn't always about being the strongest or fastest hunter. Sometimes it belongs to the one who can sell the best lie, a lie so convincing that even nature's top killers hesitate, confused, giving just enough time for escape. The hognose snake shows us that in the wild, the smartest survivor is often not the one who fights the hardest, but the one who knows how to make its enemies believe the fight is already over. Have you ever seen an animal so dedicated to staying alive that it literally builds its own disguise from the world around it? The decorator crab is one of nature's most brilliant survival artists, turning itself into a living piece of the ocean floor to escape predators that would otherwise make a quick meal of it. This small crab doesn't rely on speed or strength. Instead, it uses ingenuity and resourcefulness that rivals human creativity. With its hooked hairs covering its shell, the decorator crab collects pieces of seaweed, sponges, shells, coral fragments, and even toxic organisms, attaching them carefully to its body like a custom-made camouflage suit. It doesn't just grab anything nearby. It chooses its decorations based on what will best protect it in that specific environment. If the seabed is covered with algae, the crab becomes a patch of green fuzz. If it lives among corals, it builds a crown of colorful fragments to blend in perfectly. In waters where predators rely on smell as much as sight, the decorator crab adds pieces of noxious sponges or stinging anemones, creating a living shield that not only hides it visually, but makes it dangerous to touch. Scientists observing these crabs have seen them constantly adjusting and repairing their camouflage, replacing old materials with fresh ones, making their disguise even better over time. Some individuals have been recorded taking hours to prepare after molting, knowing that until their shell is decorated, they are exposed and vulnerable. This isn't blind instinct. It's behavior that shows planning and problem-solving, a conscious effort to change appearance based on threat levels. Predators like octopuses, fish, and larger crabs often pass right by without noticing anything unusual, missing the crab entirely because it has become part of the scenery. And if danger gets too close, the decorator crab can freeze, relying entirely on its disguise, confident that its carefully built costume makes it invisible. In the vast and competitive world of the ocean, where almost everything eats something smaller, the decorator crab survives not with armor or speed, but with craftiness, turning the materials of its home into a personal fortress. It's proof that sometimes the smartest way to survive isn't to fight or flee. It's to disappear so completely that danger never even knows you were there. Have you ever wished you could vanish before danger even noticed you? The chameleon has turned this wish into a reality, evolving one of nature's most sophisticated camouflage systems that makes it nearly untouchable in the wild. This reptile doesn't rely on speed or strength to escape predators. Instead, it bends light, changes colors, and manipulates its own appearance to become part of its surroundings, turning invisibility into a survival weapon. The secret lies in its remarkable skin, layered with special cells called chromatophores and nanocrystals that reflect and absorb light in different ways. With a simple adjustment of muscle tension, a chameleon can shift from green to brown, yellow, orange, or even display multiple colors at once. This isn't just a passive reaction to temperature or mood. It's an active, deliberate choice to match the environment, confuse predators, and even communicate with other chameleons. When a bird of prey circles above, or a snake slithers nearby, the chameleon freezes completely, skin blending into leaves, branches, or bark so perfectly that it disappears from sight. Some species take this trick further, subtly changing shades throughout the day as the light shifts, staying invisible no matter how the forest transforms around them. Scientists have studied wild chameleons and found that their camouflage is incredibly precise, adjusting not only color but patterns, creating fake shadows or highlights to mimic sunspots on leaves. This isn't their only clever trick. Chameleons use stillness as a weapon, moving so slowly that predators struggle to detect motion. Their bodies can rock gently, mimicking the sway of branches in the wind, making them indistinguishable from the foliage. Their independently moving eyes give them a full 360-degree view without moving their heads, allowing them to scan for threats while remaining perfectly still. When cornered, some chameleons switch tactics, flashing bright, bold colors to startle predators or signal that they might be poisonous or dangerous, buying enough time to escape. The brilliance of the chameleon's survival strategy is that it doesn't fight danger directly. It avoids it altogether, making predators waste energy searching for a meal that's right in front of them. This incredible adaptation has kept chameleons alive for millions of years in forests, deserts, and grasslands full of hungry hunters. Watching a chameleon vanish into its background feels like magic, but it's nature's ultimate mind game. A living creature turning light and color into a shield, proving that in the wild, survival often belongs to those who can fool the eye, not just outrun the claw. What if you could transform your entire body in the blink of an eye, becoming invisible to enemies, or even turning into something far more terrifying than yourself? For the octopus, this isn't science fiction. It's an everyday survival strategy, perfected over millions of years. Living in oceans full of predators like sharks, moray eels, and barracudas, the octopus relies on intelligence and trickery to stay alive. Its skin is packed with millions of specialized cells called chromatophores and papillae that can instantly change color, pattern, and even texture, allowing it to disappear against rocks, sand, or coral reefs. One moment it's a moving shadow on the ocean floor, the next it's a lump of algae swaying with the current, completely fooling predators. Some octopus species take deception even further, mimicking deadly sea creatures to scare off attackers, spreading arms to imitate venomous lionfish, flattening its body to look like a poisonous flatfish, or slithering in patterns that make it appear as a sea snake, one of the most feared creatures of the ocean. But camouflage is just the first layer of its genius. When discovered, the octopus releases a dark cloud of ink, not just to hide visually, but to overload the predator's sense of smell and taste, creating confusion and buying precious seconds to flee. Their flexible, boneless bodies can squeeze through cracks no bigger than their beak, escaping places where no other animal could follow. They're not just escape artists, They're problem solvers. Scientists have documented octopuses opening jars, unlocking containers, navigating complex mazes, and even playing with objects, showing a level of thinking and memory on par with higher mammals. Some have been seen stacking rocks to block predators from entering their dens, or collecting coconut shells to assemble instant portable shelters. These creatures plan, adapt, and outwit attackers in ways that seem almost human. An octopus doesn't just run from danger, it studies its enemy, creates illusions, manipulates its environment, and vanishes in plain sight. Watching one change shape and color, outmaneuvering larger, faster hunters, feels like witnessing living magic. Except this magic is real, an evolutionary masterpiece of survival intelligence honed over countless generations. In the wild, where speed and brute strength often rule, the octopus proves that the sharpest weapon can be a quick mind and the ability to make predators doubt what they see, hesitate for a second too long, and lose their chance at a kill. We've traveled through a world where survival isn't about brute force or sharp teeth, but about brilliance, illusion, and perfectly timed tricks that rewrite the rules of life and death. We've seen the octopus vanish into its surroundings, or turn into something more frightening than its hunters, pufferfish transforming into spiky balloons no predator dares to swallow, and tiny killdeer birds risking their lives by faking injury to protect their young. We've watched frogs playing dead, hognose snakes turning into lifeless, stinking decoys, and cuttlefish dazzling attackers with waves of color that confuse even the sharpest eyes. Opossums masterfully convince predators they're already rotten. Decorator crabs build their own disguises from the ocean floor. Stick insects disappear into the branches around them, and the mata-mata turtle becomes part of the swamp itself. Chameleons vanish in plain sight, beetles turn into chemical cannons, and butterflies trick enemies into seeing monsters where only fragile wings exist. Each of these moments reveals a deeper truth. Survival doesn't always belong to the fastest runner or the fiercest fighter. In the wild, the cleverest minds, the boldest liars, and the greatest illusionists often walk away, alive while brute strength falters. Nature has shown us a hidden battlefield where wit and trickery are as powerful as claws and venom, and where the greatest weapon any creature can have is the ability to make danger believe a lie just long enough to escape. What these incredible tactics truly reveal is that survival in nature isn't only a fight of strength against strength, it's a battle of minds, illusions, and fear turned into a weapon. These animals prove that evolution rewards not just the fastest legs or sharpest fangs, but the ability to confuse, outwit, and control what predators believe. Their tricks change the balance of power in the wild. Predators waste precious time chasing ghosts, attacking fake injuries, avoiding harmless mimics, or fleeing from illusions of danger that don't even exist. These strategies ripple through entire ecosystems, reshaping the rules of the hunt and showing that brains can rewrite the laws of nature itself. They remind us that survival isn't always about being the biggest or the strongest. It's about being unpredictable, about making others hesitate, about playing a game no predator knows how to win. In a world where hesitation can mean life or death, these tricksters prove that cleverness can defeat raw power, turning deception into one of the greatest forces for survival on Earth. In the wild, every second can decide between life and death, And these animals have shown us that survival isn't always about claws, teeth, or speed. Sometimes it's about pure brilliance. From masters of disguise that vanish into their surroundings, to actors that fake death or injury, to creatures that turn their own bodies into weapons of confusion, nature has built survivors who win battles without fighting them. Their tricks don't just save their lives. They challenge how we think about intelligence, showing that wit and creativity can be just as powerful as strength. If this journey opened your eyes to the secret strategies of the natural world, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible wildlife stories, and share this video with someone who thinks animals only rely on force to survive. Now tell us in the comments, which trick amazed you the most? Which one would you want to borrow if you were out in the wild facing danger? And do you know other cunning creatures we should feature next time? Let's talk about the mind games of nature's greatest tricksters, because their stories prove that in the fight for life, cleverness often writes the ending.